Hey y'all, in this video we're going to be going over how to make this herringbone stitch. It is a one-sided stitch, meaning that the pattern is going to repeat every 2 rows. Basically what we'll be doing is working from the same side that our herringbone pattern is on. So that'll kind of make sense as we get through the stitch. But we're going to be using a size 6 super bulky yarn and a 9mm crochet hook. And we'll go ahead and get started. Alrighty, to get started, we will, of course, make our slip knot. And then we're going to go ahead and chain 8 plus 1 turning. With this stitch, it doesn't matter how many you have on your foundation chain. You can have even or odd. The pattern here, the repeating part, is going to be that 2-row pattern. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But it won't be as far as a stitch count. We'll chain 1 more for 9. So unlike a lot of our other stitches, when we usually go for that first row where we just do a single crochet across, we're actually going to jump right into the pattern for this. For the first one, it will seem like we're just doing single crochets. We'll skip that first stitch, slip into here, yarn over and pull up. The difference here is we're going to really be making this guy kind of loose. To do that, we can pull up our crochet hook and pinch right here. And then yarn over. Keeping all of these stitches loose in this pattern is going to be crucial, as if we start to lose some of that, we're going to lose the length in these bars we're creating, and we'll start to see that as we build up rows, the width will kind of it'll lessen. It'll kind of look like a little pyramid, and that's not what we want. So to start our herringbone stitch, we've made this V. What we're going to do with our second stitch is slip right under here on the left one, go through that top loop of our next stitch, yarn over. Again, keep it real loose and pinch. And we're going to yarn over and go through all 3. So aside from the first stitch in each row, what we should be seeing on that hook on this front pass is 3 stitches. And I mentioned the front pass because the back pass is going to look a little bit different. But we'll get to that shortly. So we're keeping these loose, pinching, and coming through. And through that left bar, the top loop, yarn over and pull through. And we just continue to the end. Even that last one, get it nice and loose, and then chain 1, and we're going to turn. So as mentioned, this is a one-sided crochet stitch. There's a front and a back. The back, you can tell, is going to be indicated by this kind of horizontal line that we're creating, where the front is going to start having these diagonal bars. In order to keep our pattern, we're always going to work from the front, meaning this crochet hook is always going to be going through from front to back. So for this next one, we're going to skip our turning chain. This is going to be our first loop. The difference here, we will be making basically a single crochet, but not only are we going through that first loop, we're actually going to slip under the first loop of this back horizontal line, so that when we come through, we're going to have 3 on our hook. Our yarn will be coming out towards us, so we'll grab it. Notice I kind of point my hook backwards and grab it like that. And then for this first one, we'll only have the 2 loops, but we'll keep it nice and loose, pinch, and pull through. So now we're going to continue that herringbone pattern in that we're going to come from this front. Before we go through our next loop, we're going to slip under the left vertical bar again. And this is the one we worked in. We can see our stitch right there. So we're going to come through this next one. So we'll go through our 2 and our 3rd, yarn over. And so now for the remainder of the row, we're going to see 3 on our hook. So that part will stay the same. We'll keep it loose, yarn over and go through and just continue. So the big difference here, when we're going through, this might look like the top row. If you flip it a little bit, it's actually this right here, but we're including this one as well. So we are going to have 3, bring that yarn through. We'll have 3 on that chain again, and then we'll pull. So kind of from the top, we go through all 3, bring our yarn from forward to back, or well, from backward to forward, pinch, and pull through. And we're keeping these nice and loose, so we keep the pattern kind of loose, because again, these can get very tight very quick, and then you kind of start to see where as you're building up those walls, the pattern starts being pulled in. And so once it starts to do that, you can't quite get it back. You really need to go back and keep everything loose. So it's best to just exaggerate from the beginning. And again, I'm coming through this left side hook. I'm going through my next stitch. So I have all 3 on the hook there. And pulling that up and pinching. If I don't pinch, it's real easy as I grab this to drag it back down. So I'm going to kind of mess up the tension there. So I pinch and pull through. And for this final one, when I slip through there, it's easy to see this top. For this last one, it's not quite, usually they're kind of stacked. You'll see that the loop you want to go through is to the right of where your hook might push out. So just make sure to grab that last stitch in the horizontal bar we've made. Notice I have 2 here. I accidentally pulled all the way through. So if you find you're doing that, just pull it back off. Keep these 3 in a line and yarn over. And now we'll just run through how to do the next row here, just because it will look a little bit different than our foundation. So to start, we have our turning chain here. We're going to skip that. We're going to just go through our top 2 loops, yarn over, and single crochet, keeping it loose. And now we can start that herringbone stitch. So we would slip under this left bar. But again, unlike the back, we're only going through the top 2 loops. We're not grabbing this row that we've been creating. Ooh. And we're going to keep the yarn on the hook and not all messed up. All right, and pull that nice and loose. And then when we get to the end, just repeat the same thing through all 3. And so we can see that pattern starting to build out. What we can actually do for this next row is just to demonstrate what happens when we aren't keeping that tension. So we've come through, we'll chain 1. And on our back pass, we are going to, remember, this is not actually our loop. This front is our loop. And we're coming through the front. So notice I tried to like sneak in there and do the normal. Just single crochet. We got to come from the front through that top. grab this guy, pull it way up. Oh, we're not. So we're going to keep the tension tighter like we might be used to. So when we come through here, going through our next one, we're going through all three. Oh God, you can already see it getting all bunched up. It also gets a little bit harder to kind of get through some of these stitches because now you're working through weird angles, right, where we now have our yarn we're trying to keep from the front to back going through, but it is fine. And then through that very last one, and again, it's hard to see, that is going to actually be our vertical loop. We grab that guy. Oh, I did not go through. We will go through it one more time. Oh, I bet you I pulled through it. And we'll single crochet. And as you can see, almost right away with that next row, since we've made these guys so tight, we're already kind of coming in here, so we're losing that width. But anyway, I hope that was informative and easy to follow along. It's kind of weird in the beginning because your hand positions change, but as you go through it, the posture gets pretty easy, and suddenly you're not even thinking about it running through that back row.